Natlan, the last bastion of hope for the once proud and hopeful Signora mains. I mean, I've never seen so many people excited at the word resurrection before in my life. I sound like an occult trying to revive the Dark One. But what exactly does resurrection mean in the context of Natlan, and who, if anyone, is getting resurrected? It could be Signora, could be the third descender, that's another popular theory, or could be, in my personal opinion, the soon-to-be-dead Pyro Archon, but more about that later. We finally got our good old annual talking to regarding the next stop on our journey, and this one was probably the most interesting given Natlan is somehow the nation we know almost nothing about. I mean, dude, Inazuma was on like full-on North Korean lockdown. No one in, no one out. You must remain. And we still managed to interact with NPCs from there. In the entire game, there's not one NPC from Natlan, which just makes you wonder, what are they doing over there? Well, unsurprisingly anyway, it seems the answer is war. They seem to be of an unga-bunga sort of people, engaging in what may as well be battles of frivolity. Natlan is on the other side of Sumeru's desert and is a land of hot springs and volcanoes. Most of our information regarding Natlan comes from Neuvillette, the manga, and the chapter preview, but between these three sources, one very important question regarding Natlan remains unanswered. Who is the Pyro Archon? It's worth pointing out that this is the first time we've ever received information on the next nation while not being told anything about their Archon whatsoever. We do, however, know 4 key pieces of information regarding the Pyro Archon. 1. She is woman. 2. It's not the same person that won the Archon War. 3. They are the god of war. And 4. At some point, one of the Pyro Archons was named Murata, also known as the Lady of Fire. The point of confusion regarding whether or not Murata is Natlan's current Archon comes from the manga in which Venti talks to Vanessa, a vagrant from Natlan, about Murata, but Vanessa seemingly has no idea who that is and seems bewildered. Now with that said, the current Archon is most likely Murata, just because that's literally Himiko's name, but we'll see I guess. Venti actually has a line about the Pyro Archon in which he states this.
The Pyro Archon is a wayward, warmongering wretch, and the Geo Archon is a brutish, blundering buffoon. How do I know? Because this is written in the epic poems of days gone by.
So, given the current state of affairs in Natlan, it does seem this description of the Pyro Archon matches the one currently ruling, despite the fact that he added the caveat, days gone by. In any case, what are the current state of affairs in Natlan? When asked, Neuvillette told us this.
As far as I'm aware, Natlan can be said to be a nation of dragons.
A nation of dragons? You mean like you?
No, I suspect that I would not find myself welcome there. Unlike ancient dragons such as myself, the dragons of Natlan have undergone long years of development and evolution. Large numbers of them have entered a form of coexistence with humanity. Natlan is also the nation of war. War ravages those lands like an undying flame. There is one other piece of information I got incidentally from my negotiations with the Knave that I believe may be useful to you. The harbinger known as the Captain has thrown his hat into the endless ring of war.
The 2 major takeaways from this are the people of Natlan are always fighting with one another, and that Natlan is the nation of dragons, and the people there and dragons coexist with one another. Furthermore, he clarifies that the dragons of those lands have undergone long periods of evolution, and that's what separates himself from them. Touching on his first point that the... that sounded weird. Addressing his first point that the people of Natlan are always fighting with one another, you might be going, civil war. It's a bit more complicated than that, you see. So far as we know, Natlan is made up of 6 major tribes, and it's among these tribes that there is constant infighting. Regarding the nature of their warfare, Dainslef makes one thing very clear.
The rules of war are woven in the womb. The victors shall burn bright, while the losers must turn to ash. When the god of war shares this secret with the traveler, it is because she has her reasons.
I mean, turn to ashes, that's death, right? Like, how is it possible that these tribes have been fighting in Natlan for over 1,000 years? No one's died? No one's lost? I mean, I get that they're using like sticks and shit, but come on, man. Neanderthals would have racked up some bodies by now. We know to this day that they are still fighting, although maybe the number of tribes has gone down. So instead of 6 tribes, it's like, I don't know, 4 at this point. Also, to which tribe, if any, does the Pyro Archon belong to? Surely that one would have won like ages ago. So it could simply be she watches from the side, even if that course of action doesn't really fit with Venti's title of warmongering wretch. One final point regarding the constant warfare in Natlan is that Capitano has decided to join the fray, which could have very interesting ramifications for the nation if he really is the strongest individual into that. Moving on from that for now, the second most noteworthy thing about Natlan is that it's a nation of dragons and the dragons there are evolved. Let me make one quick point before I continue on with this. While my next video is going to be about the Sovereigns and Nibelung, it seems like people are getting wrapped up in the idea that because the Hydro Sovereign was reborn as a human, a lot of the other Sovereigns will be too. While I don't doubt that miHoYo is going to make more human Sovereigns because they seem to sell, the only reason the Hydro Sovereign was reincarnated as a human was due to the, I think it was like the interracial marriage of the bishops or some shit like that. Or it was due to the bishops evolving to wield cryo and electro variants as opposed to them just staying pure with water. Yeah, thanks, nerd. So as you can see, there's a specific reason the Dragon of Water came back as a human as opposed to a dragon, and that's because the bishops became impure. This reason might not hold for the other sovereigns, so I mean, let's not get our hopes up. Plus, a Pep is like still a dragon, so I mean Dendro's ruled out. With that said, it does however seem like Hoyo is setting up the Pyro Sovereign to be a human, given they especially pointed out that all the dragons in Natlan have undergone lots of evolution, and it was this specific evolution that led the Hydro Sovereign to become a human. I am interested to see what the dragons living amongst the humans look like, because we can be, I mean look, these aren't dragons, bro. These are, when you hear dragons, you do not think, these are like anteaters. These are not dragons, man. These are like year 4000 anteaters. I can picture it now, man. Just a bunch of bishops pushing carts and shit like a bunch of baby back bitches. Do him proud, Hoyo. Please do him proud. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that if the dragons of these lands have undergone lots of evolution, it doesn't seem entirely implausible that they became impure at some point, causing the Pyro Sovereign to be reborn as a human. Just imagine someone that looks like Nanook or Acnologia being the Pyro Sovereign. Please, man, please. Anyway, the final point I want to make regarding Natlan has to do with its title, Incandescent Ode to Resurrection. There has been a lot of talk regarding potential reses in Natlan, with the biggest contenders being either Signora or the Third Descender, in my personal fanatic theory, the Pyro Archon. Let's talk about each of these possibilities, starting with the fan favorite, Signora. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really sure who could revive her. Like, let's say there is some sort of resurrection facility or ritual over there in Natlan, who's gonna do it? Capitano is in Natlan, and he didn't exactly offer Signora high praise at her funeral.
Though her methods tarnished her honor, Loafalta's sacrifice is a great pity.
So I doubt he'd go out of his way to do it. But let's say you're a Signora hopeful and you're watching. I'll throw you a bone, don't worry. One potential reason someone could revive Signora is for love. But Rustam is dead, you might be thinking. Yes, this is true, he is dead. But in the Commedia dell'arte, Signora has a completely different love interest, and her name is Columbina. Make of that what you will. All I'm saying is we have 2 nations left and there are 7 harbingers, so unless patch 6.0 to 6.8 is literally just the Cryo Archon and however many harbingers, it's time to start spacing them out. And even if you think that's just a stretch, hey, to the Signora mains, even in the blackest of nights, the faintest of light can be blinding. Go get him, Signora hopefuls. I believe in you guys. Another name that's brought up for a potential resurrection is the Third Descender. Although I won't lie, I'm a little confused regarding this, because if the Gnostices are being used to resurrect the Third Descender, then surely it requires all of them. So that means either Capitano has all the Gnostices, and when he gets the Pyro one, he phones home, and then the Cryo Archon just like pulls up with all the other Gnostices, and then they just like resurrect them there? This feels more like a Snezhnaya arc, because I don't really see how it could work. but what do I know? And finally, my crack theory says that the Pyro Archon will be rezzed after fighting Capitano, getting her ass handed to her back from Beijing through Mexico City, dying, and then getting resurrected by the Traveler, who only gained the rights to go through the resurrection process by fighting the other tribe's best warriors. It could be that resurrecting someone is why the tribes are constantly fighting, because they always want to resurrect someone. Regardless of who you think is getting rezzed, it should be cool nonetheless to see how everything plays out in Natlan, as we can only hope that Celestia finally makes a move when Capitano inevitably gets his hands on the Pyro Gnosis.